Five, four, three, two, one. My name is Malachi Sifuentes, and in 2023, I was one pill away from losing my life. To this day, it still hasn't fully sank in about how serious my actions were and how close I was to not being able to stand here and record this video. When you get to that moment in your life where you're that close to death, you don't know what you're feeling. I can't even begin to explain exactly what it is that I was feeling in that moment because there's no perfect way to describe it. I was scared, I was angry, I was frustrated, but most importantly, I was disappointed in myself and who I had become. This is a story that I put together called 4 Years of Lessons, beginning of 2021 to the beginning of 2025. Now, this was around the time that COVID had broke about. I remember we were sitting in class and we were all talking about how there was this virus from China that was spreading all over the globe. And I remember a couple of states in the US started to get hit, and within a couple of weeks, almost every single state had a case of COVID. Now, this transitions into going into online school. We did online school for the rest of the year, and we never went back to school. I was in 8th grade at the time. And little did I know how tough high school really was going to be because of a few simple choices I made for myself, which led me down a very dark path. I was asked by my mom for my 9th grade year, Malachi, what do you want to do? You want to do online school, or do you want to go to school in person still? Now, obviously, which choice do you think I picked? I picked to do online school. Why? Well, it sounded amazing. I could be gaming all day. I could be sleeping in all day. I could do whatever I wanted and do school whenever I wanted. Well, that's how it was for the first week. You see, the first week I was rushing through every single lesson. I would skip videos. I would just let them sit. I would just cheat. I mean, what kid doesn't cheat when they're in 9th grade knowing they can do online school? And then a month went by. I was over, I believe, 100 assignments behind. I wasn't doing school. I was unmotivated. Once I had gotten to the point where I missed a week of school because of my lack of discipline, I was falling into a hole that I wasn't going to climb out of for 4 years. Now, around this time, I was already gaming an obnoxiously amount. I was the kind of kid that would throw his stuff after school and immediately get on and start playing games. Fortnite. I played Fortnite all the time. I'll admit that. I have been playing Fortnite since 2017, since the game had gotten big. I was also playing Minecraft. I was playing Rainbow Six Siege with my friends. I was doing all of the above, but I wasn't focusing on the most important thing, what I was learning every day. Now, I don't believe that you need school specifically to be successful. I think you can be successful in many other ways, like watching YouTube, learning to do something yourself, all that, as long as you have discipline. I'll get into that later too. Now, when I went back to school my second semester of 9th grade, I had failed pretty much every single class. The only class I had actually gotten through was computer. Isn't that sad? Just computer. Out of all the classes, I couldn't pass English, math, science, history, all of the above. And I never once showed up to a single Zoom meeting to learn about any of the stuff we were doing. Didn't really set in for the rest of the 9th grade year. I didn't really care. All I knew is that I got the luxury of being home and doing whatever I wanted, and that's all I cared about. Sophomore year, didn't really hit either. Maybe I had a couple classes that I had to do, which were with some freshmen, but I didn't care. All I cared was that I got the time to pretty much do whatever I wanted, and I thought I wasn't gonna have to look back. When in reality, that huge ocean of everything that I had been letting go of was about to hit me with full force. It wasn't until my junior year until I realized genuinely how behind I was. We had a whole meeting with a bunch of my teachers talking about how behind I really was on all my classes. Even my junior year, I was struggling. I was the kind of kid that needed to be taught something over and over again for me to learn because of my ADHD and because of just how my brain works. It's just how I learn. And I remember my junior year, I failed some classes in there too, which led to my senior year. During this time in my junior year, right after we did semester testing, there was this girl that I had met at my job that I was working. Around this time too of this year, I had reapplied at McDonald's. I was working there in the past, but I didn't bring it up because it's not as important as it is now. I was working there prior 2 years, but now I was back, full-fledged, making more money, and that's all I cared about. But this girl is also going to play a pretty important role in my life. We were laughing, we were talking. She even wanted my Snapchat for work-related reasons, which is a total bullcrap lie, by the way, for anyone who's experienced that. And it was great. And then soon, a couple weeks later, she was my girlfriend. That was the first time in my life that I had experienced any kind of love. And growing up, I did get constantly bullied, especially during my elementary school years when we moved into town. I was constantly getting bullied, and especially by girls too, which had really affected my self-esteem in a lot of ways. And the worst thing that I did during our relationship was put her on a pedestal. You never want to put someone on a pedestal, especially when you're not happy yourself. If you're unhappy with your current version of yourself, the other person that's with you is gonna see that and feel like they're the only source of happiness. So she started backing off. She stopped messaging me, she stopped wanting to call, all of the above. And then soon, we had mutually broken up. I had spent that whole night crying, realizing, oh man, I hate myself, I hate my life. Man, why does no one love me? Why is it that I suck at everything that I do? I have no dreams whatsoever. I don't know what I want to do with my life. So what did I do? I fell deeper into that hole. And at my job, I didn't really care. I just went in, clocked out, done. I pretty much did that every single day during the summer, even if I was only working part-time. Most of the day, I was gaming for 8 to 12 hours a day. My sleep schedule was completely wrecked. And I was waking up to 2 to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. That is ridiculous. But it was because of how hurt I was on the inside for so long. Then a week went by. Then this certain incident happened that I'm still going to think about to this day. On July 23rd, 2023, I went into work like usual. I got maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep. I was super sleep deprived, and I just didn't want to be at work. Clocked in, got there around 7:30. Everything was fine, but I wasn't really talking to anyone. And I was also working with my ex/friend. It was really confusing. And then at around 11, we had just gotten done with our rush. I decided I'm going to go use the restroom because that was irritating and aggravating. And there was this gas station that was actually hooked on to the McDonald's that I was working at. And I happened to see this medicine area, and I started having probably some of the darkest thoughts in my life. I had never had thoughts like these before. And I was in such a low place, I made a split-second decision. There was a bottle of ibuprofen that I saw right on the counter. I could visibly see it too. I went and grabbed it. It was like $5 or $6. I don't know why that's important, but it was like $5 or $6. I set it on the counter, bought it. The lady didn't think much, obviously. I walked to the back, looking at it the entire time, and set it back down on the counter. And I stared at it for a really long time. Is this something I actually want to do? Is this something I should go forward with? Is this really it? And after a little bit of thinking, I took like 4 or 5 pills. Not a harmful amount, but after a couple more minutes, I decided to take more and more until I was eventually halfway through the bottle. And that's when it really sunk in what I was doing. At some point, I was already 5/8, 3/4 of the way through the bottle. I started getting dizzy, I started getting tired. My head started to throb really bad because I had taken so much ibuprofen at this point. And then I made a split-second decision. Like, this isn't how I wanted my life to end. So I ran out the back door of the McDonald's that I was working at. I dialed my mom and I said, Mom, I just took a bunch of pills and I need you to please come get me because I don't want to die. This is not how I want my life to end. And my mom said, Malachi, I'm coming, and I'll be there soon. I set the phone back in my pocket. I walked through the back, was pacing really badly, and all I could feel was adrenaline and fear and scared because I had taken so much ibuprofen. And then my mom pulled up. I left the store, and on the way there, my mom was screaming at me, telling me, "You're going straight back to the mental hospital, and you're gonna get better until you're better." And I cried the whole way there. The whole way there, I was crying my eyes out. Why did I try this? Why did I do this? Sorry. We got to the hospital, and as I was laying in the bed, getting IV pumped through my body, making sure that all this ibuprofen was being flushed out of my system, my doctor walks in. He sits down right beside me, my mom's sitting on the left side of me. He leans over and he goes, "Malachi, you were one pill away from doing irreversible damage to your body." Oh man. Oh, sorry. Oh man. I still don't know what to think of that to this day. I was literally one pill away from losing my life. I had gotten sent off to the mental hospital, obviously. I was there for about 5 days. And after I got out, I still wasn't really better. I still hated my life. I was still gaming all day. I had no sense of direction in life. Yeah, I had a YouTube channel at the time, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do with my life. And this girl, the day I got out of the mental hospital, blocked me everywhere and left me in the darkness after turning the light off. The next year after that, I worked at this place called Pizza Hut for a little bit. I quit McDonald's the previous year, and she ended up reaching back out. It wasn't anything too serious, just talking, whatnot. Then summer came again. She messaged me, "Never talk to me again. I don't want anything to do with you." It was just like everything was just happening all over again. And the year prior, right after she had blocked me and everything, I started gambling. I was gambling on this side website called, I'm not going to say it, never mind, I don't think that's a good idea, but I was just gambling on this CSGO skin website. Out of all things that I was gambling on, how ridiculous. And I probably sunk about $4,000 into this stupid thing, only to make about $400 back. In 2024, I was still gambling. I was still waking up at 2 or 3 p.m. in the afternoon, going to bed at 3 or 4 in the morning, just gaming all day, no sense of direction, and I slowly stopped uploading to this channel that I do. It wasn't fun anymore. I had no joy in making a video and uploading it to YouTube. But this is the point in my life that everything started to slowly change. The part of my life that helped me grow in the best ways possible. In August of 2024, I sat down on my computer one day and saw this Andrew Tate and David Goggins video, and you're probably gonna go, "Oh man, he bases his whole life off of them." I base my life to an extent to learn what they've taught me over these last few years and the lessons that I take with me to become and be the person I currently am right now. So I made a split decision. The very next day, I woke up at 12 in the afternoon. That was still really bad. But I realized in that moment that I no longer wanted to do that. I hated waking up late. I hated not having a sense of direction. I tried drop shipping. That wasn't fun to me. I tried painting. I tried making flip books. I tried animating. I tried YouTube. There wasn't really anything that I would do pursue-wise and really had any fun doing it. And it was at this point in my life that I started to actually kind of lean the right way, in a way that would change the next 5 months of my life. That very night, I made my schedule for the rest of the week. I looked at the whole of my work schedule and decided I'm going to make a workaround, use ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT is the best tool for that because it can help you make your schedules and stuff. You'd be stupid to not be using AI right now. But that's what I used it for. I used it to help make the schedules, what I like doing, what sense of life that I wanted. I decided to try this marketing agency. Didn't work out, but I learned a lot from it and who I am as a person, what I love doing. That very next day, after making the schedule, I had woken up at 5:45, which was something I never imagined myself doing. For the next week, I was still waking up. I was going on runs because I was doing that the previous couple of years. I was watching what I was eating. I was getting all my stuff done in the morning. I was even journaling every single day. And it just became a point where it wasn't a chore. It started to actually become a little fun. It was motivating, but in a disciplined way where motivation wasn't taking over. It was mainly discipline, the ability to keep consistent when you no longer have the motivation to do so. And a couple weeks later, I was waking up at 4:15 in the morning. How crazy is that? I, 3 years ago, couldn't imagine myself, a year ago at that, couldn't imagine myself waking up at 4:15 in the morning. And prior to that, a year, I was waking up 3, 4, sometimes 5 in the morning. I couldn't imagine myself doing that. And there I was, a completely flipped version of myself that I had never seen before. I was going on runs every morning. I was eating every morning. At the time, showers used to take like almost an hour, were taking me 5 to 10 minutes at most. Then a couple more months went by. Kind of fell off with my sleep schedule, but I was always trying to stay as consistent as possible. I still am, I will admit it, I still struggle with sleep to this day, but what matters is that I'm grinding at it every day to get better. Then 2025 came around. This time, something shifted in me that has stayed with me a year later. I was going on this particular run. I had woken up at around 4:15 in the morning. And I took this certain picture in my mirror, in my bathroom. I took a set of pictures actually, but there was this certain picture that I took that made me realize something. I had a sense of purpose of what I wanted to do with my life. In 2024, I picked back up on editing, but instead of editing long content, I was making those viral edits that you see on TikTok and YouTube. 10 to 15 second edits that I enjoyed doing with a passion and found amazingly fun. Of course, I was crappy at it at first, but I've gotten to a point where I can say that I'm proud of how far I've gone. And one of these pictures, I had realized that I had finally beaten my battle of depression of 4 years. And I've carried all those lessons with me forward. That girl came back a third time, but this time was different. We were kind of talking again, said some emotional stuff to each other. I got the clarity that I always wanted. Then she accused me of some pretty serious things that summer. And I made a split-second decision to block her. Because I realized in that moment that it's not fair for me to take this hurt that I had been pushing away for it to just come back into my life however it pleased. No, I was not about to let that happen. Of course, I still wish the best for her. Of course, I still wish that she has a prosperous life. I hope that she finds the person that she loves. but I'll never forget the lessons she taught me. But I'll never forgive her for how she treated me. At the end of the day, she taught me some very valuable lessons that every single day could be the last day that you walk. The next second could be the last second you breathe. And I took those lessons to heart. One of the last things that she ever told me was to focus on myself before I went to AA. And I took that literally. And to this day, I still carry those lessons forward that I learned. The thing that I had to realize during that whole thing was I had to be the person that wanted to get better. There was no other doctors, no other therapists, no other counselors that I could have went to help me get better. I had to be the one that wanted to get better. They can give you as much advice in the world, they can give you the best guidance, all that stuff like I just said, but you have to be the one that's willing to get better. Because if you aren't, you're going to live the same life that you've been living every single day. The reason why so many of these people are successful is because they stayed consistent with what they love doing. And I'm doing the same thing that I can now. Maybe I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody's perfect. Instead of looking at these successful people like, oh man, they got lucky, I looked at them as if that was who I was going to be. If you can picture something in your hand, you are guaranteed to have it at some point. So that was my story. 4 years of lessons. That's what I've learned. That's what I've been through. Everybody can beat it. There are so many resources out there to help you get better. Of course, I chose the harder path by realizing that I had to be the one to get better, because that's the brutal honesty. You are the only one that can get better, but you can get help and guidance along your journey. And that's all that matters. As long as you're taking one step at a day, instead of taking one step forward and 2 steps back, I was taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2, and so on and so forth. And now I'm the happiest I've ever been. Genuinely. I love what I'm doing. I'm learning day trading right now. I love editing. I love going on runs. I have a shin splint right now, but it doesn't matter because I ran my first half marathon last year, which is also something I never thought I could do. All of this combined shows you that nothing is impossible, because the word impossible spells impossible. Matthew 19:26. With man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. Realize at the end of the day, you should treat every day like it's your last, because one day it will be. My name is Malachi Sifuentes, and I want to seriously thank anybody for watching this. Hopefully I could help one person, and to anybody who's watching this as a reference as well. I appreciate you listening to my story, and thank you so much for your time.